Okay, well, good evening, buonasera, benvenuti. Thank you so much for joining us tonight for the Russo Brothers Italian-American Film Forum Virtual Film Festival presented by the National Italian-American Foundation in conjunction with the Italian Sons and Daughters of America, the Russo Brothers, and AGBO. I want to thank you, the viewer, tonight for really working us through our technical difficulties. We really appreciate it, and we hope you enjoyed Laura's film. Just a little bit background, NIAF is a membership-based, nonpartisan, and nonprofit organization. Founded in 1975, NIAF's mission is to preserve the Italian-American heritage and culture, promote and inspire a positive image and legacy of Italian Americans, and strengthen and empower ties between the United States and Italy. Created in 2016 by acclaimed directors and the co-founders and executive chairman of AGBO, Anthony and Joe Russo, together with the National Italian American Foundation, the Italian Sons and Daughters of America, and the Russo Brothers Italian American Film Forum, provides an incredible opportunity for inspired and creative artists like Laura to create films that explore the Italian American experience. Each year, a select number of applicants are awarded an $8,000 grant that serves as a production budget for the story they'd like to develop and create for the screen. Of those applications, only 3 are invited to screen their films during the NIAF Gala weekend in Washington, D.C., which just happened over the weekend, and a final winner is chosen and presented an award at the gala dinner. So as I mentioned, we presented the final 6, because we presented the 2020 and the 2020 winners at the gala dinner. And we're pleased to feature one of the finalists tonight with our 2020 edition, Laura Caparrotti with Tutti and Scena. So a little bit of background about Laura. Laura Caparrotti is a director, actress, journalist, teacher, lecturer, consultant, dialect coach, and curator with an Italian accent. She has studied and worked professionally for over 10 years in Italy before relocating to New York. She is the founding artistic director of KIT, Kairos Italy Theater, the main Italian theater company in New York. In 2013, Laura started in Scena, Italian Theater Festival, New York, the first Italian theater festival to take place in all 5 New York boroughs and beyond. In 2019, she inaugurated on stage the first American Theater Festival in Italy as Associate Director. She is a recipient of the Dante Award and of the Italian Cultural Society Award for her role in spreading Italian culture in the States through theater. And like I mentioned, she is one of our finalists from the 2020 edition of the Russo Brothers Italian American Film Forum. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to welcome Laura Caparrotti tonight with us. Laura.
Hello, everyone. I hope you were able to watch the documentary, and I promise you there will be more chances to watch it in person.
Yes.
Hopefully soon, sooner than later.
Yeah, so we're here tonight to ask Laura and have a great conversation about her beautiful film that depicts the Italians in theater. So Laura, I actually would like to start the questions with my question. So this documentary takes such a thorough dive. Can you tell us a bit about your process for tackling this subject?
First of all, this is my very first documentary. I'm a theater person, and I've always been fascinated by history. And to me, history is also really is the root where we come from. Is our past is not just the past; is within ourselves. So I started to know about Farfariello, Edoardo Migliaccio, and then slowly, being in New York, doing theater, you have someone telling you, oh, you know this, that there was this, this, that. And slowly I started to realize how big the scene of theater was at the time. And I started to read, to collect material. Of course, most of this material is lost. because at the time they didn't know. No one thought we are going to save, a poster, a program, a dress. Only with Eduardo Migliaccio, for instance, the Migliaccio's family has a lot of documents, material, dresses, wigs, as we can see in the documentary. But everything else is scattered, and there is not much available. And so it was very challenging to find the things. But I was lucky. I know a lot of wonderful people who had a wonderful script and memories, and also the idea of the fact that there were, at the end of 1800, 2000 people going to the theater, Italians. And we always think about Italians as immigrants, that they were working and going home, working and going home. They were saving money to go to the theater. Mm-hmm. They were having a life, and they were going to the theater to feeling part of a community, which is still what we do now.
Yeah, well, you captured it so beautifully, and you did such an amazing job. And I can imagine that it was so hard to really dig deep, notwithstanding, not having those materials, and to create such a beautiful homage to the Italians in theaters. Such a beautiful piece of art that certainly for future generations will treasure. And that's the whole reason why we have this forum. It's for the future generations, so they don't forget the wonderful and beautiful contribution the Italians have had in this wonderful country of ours. Yeah. So grazie.
Prego. And I also want to add that I am privileged to have a wonderful group of actors that you have seen. You haven't seen them all, but you have seen a lot of them in recreating the scenes, the moments, and even just in audio and not only in video. And that was a major help, because they were so good that we didn't need much time to shoot a scene or do something.
Yeah, that's beautiful, wonderful. So our first question from the audience comes to Kara. She says, congratulations, a wonderful film. No question, just a comment. Tears of joy sprung to my eyes, tears of joy from my heart at seeing your passion for Italian-American theater. You have touched my deepest feelings and strengthened my drive for keeping our culture alive and well. Mille grazie.
Wow, thank you. Well, if I did that, I am happy. It's really enough for me, really.
Yeah, that's great. So Laura, an anonymous attendee is asking, how would you define what the voice of Italian Americans is in this country, and what it could bring to the US cinema that may not be already there?
Well, interesting, because with my company, and Casa Italiana Zerelli Marimo, which is the background that you see where we are in residency, we are trying to bring more Italian American playwrights, actors, directors, and give voice. I think that there is a major focus on Italian American culture, on food, on a certain kind of history, while we have a culture of there's poetry, theater, writings, visual arts, theater about anything. There are beautiful plays about, for instance, LGBTQ experiences since the 70s, and somewhere on Broadway. It's so interesting how there is a part of culture that is not really touched or navigated. And I think that opening more to the theater, the political theater of the 20s and the 30s, even go, we go back one century, but it's so interesting and it's so well written. I think that there should be more occasion like the Russo Brother Film Forum to really give voice to all these aspects. There are so many, because we are food. Yes, I'm having part of the company in the house tonight because we were watching the documentary, and now we are going to have dinner. because food is part of, you know, who we are. We do everything around food, but also all the arts. I don't want to say that we excel in everything we do, but there is a reason. We have, you know, because of our countries, a country have been conquered by everyone. We have a history because we have Rome, we have history. I remember a very big artist told me once that we have in our DNA centuries of art, and that it shows.
Yeah.
So that is what we can bring. There is so much. Just go to the most hidden path and not to the one that we know more.
Yes, absolutely. Always travel the path, the unbeaten path.
Unbeaten.
Yeah.
After 25 years, I still speak like I just
No, it's perfect.
got out of the boat.
No, you're perfect. Okay, so Kip, who actually joined us last night, Kip, thank you so much for joining us again tonight. So he's asking, with the Film Forum grant, were you able to make it work for your film, or did you have to raise additional funds?
I had the support of Casa Italiana, who is really a great partner in when we do something that they really think that they're worth it. And so when I told them about my idea, they were like, and I told them, you know, that we got the grant, they were like, we want to support you. And then we had, you know, support in also in kind, in not to have to pay a full price for something, which is a good one. So yes, I covered all the expenses. I paid everyone, which is a point that I'm making in theater. Is not easy, but it's a point I'm making. And I really and I was able to do everything. Yeah, we are used to do theater with nothing. Right. So for us to do things with little, it's something that we are used to, like the actors at that time.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's great. I'm happy that you were able to accomplish that and achieve all the goals that you wanted to achieve. So Fred Gardafe says, great film that captures the time and the relevance of this work of the past can be to us today and the future. It needs greater exposure. What is next for this film?
What is next? We are talking with my companies and with all the partners what to do. We would like first to have an in-person screening for everyone, you know, and then maybe some festivals. And for sure, we are going to try to sell it for educational purposes, you know, on PBS, or I'm saying PBS for channel like that. And then show it around and talk about it. And another thing that we're going to do after this documentary, which is only the beginning, because for instance, the sceneggiata you have seen, we were talking with the Calandra Institute to translate it into English and then doing it with the supertitles. So, you know, to show these wonderful plays. Or there is another one that is Madre, which is not in the documentary, and is a anti-fascist play with the mother, with one son is a fascist and one son is an anti-fascist, and they, at a certain point, they meet and one dies, and it's beautifully written. So trying to also to bring the theater back on stage and show and tell, you know, 1 century ago, this was happening in the streets that we are walking on right now.
Yeah, that's incredible. Speaking of the sceneggiata, we did receive a question from Martina. She asked, can you recommend any books on the sceneggiata?
I'll have to think about it. There is, it depends what she would like to know. I am sure there are some books. If she speaks Italian, it's easier.
Okay.
If otherwise, there are some books. We are building a website where I'm going to have a page for all everything that is in the documentary, so people can check. And because there is, for instance, Cautela, who wrote about La Sceneggiata. He wrote it 1 century ago, but still he wrote it. It is very interesting how he defined the Sceneggiata. But yeah, I'll have to think about it.
Okay. All right, great. Thomas asks you, excuse me, it seems that Italian theater was basically in Italian or in Neapolitan. Were there any other languages or dialects, or i.e. dialects represented?
It was mostly in Neapolitan because the population was mostly Neapolitan. The very first theater company was a Neapolitan theater company, because in Brooklyn, it was the language. It was not Italian or Sicilian. It was really. There was De Rosa that did a character in Sicilian. There is even a monologue in Roman, which to me was very strange, because I never thought someone was, here at the beginning of the century writing in Roman, but mostly was Neapolitan for that reason. And Maiori, who was the big actor, he made a point of doing everything in Italian, because he was coming from the theater in Italy. He was touring Europe with the theater, so he had a very good pronunciation, and he made a point of doing theater with a good pronunciation, Italian pronunciation, a proper Italian pronunciation. And he wanted to do it mostly, I think that his idea was doing it also for the American audience, and he was able a little bit. And in fact, the New York Times article, which is incredible, the critics going there, not understanding a word of Italian, but writing beautiful reviews. So think how great these actors were.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. And sorry, the most of the anti-fascist or the early 1900 theater is in Italian. Farfariello did it in Italian-English, but everything else is in Italian. And Il Pezzente, which is at the end of 1800, is in Italian. An old Italian, but it's Italian. Yeah.
Okay. That's great. Jeffrey Santoro, who's actually, he's one of the 2020 finalists of the Russo Brothers Film Forum with Big City, Little Italy. We'll be seeing it next week. He says, no question, just a comment. I thoroughly enjoyed the film. It was well done. I also love the focus on theater and Italian theater to boot. Keep telling those wonderful hidden stories. Many congratulations to you, your crew, and performers.
Thank you. Thank you. Cannot wait to see yours.
Yes, so many different subjects here with this film forum. I love it. So Victoria is now asking, are there any collaborations between your institution at NYU and the Casa Italiana at Columbia University? Do you share similar objectives in furthering Italian culture in New York City and beyond?
So we are the company residents at NYU. We are an independent company, but we are the theater in residence. So we do certain things, but then we perform everywhere. The Italian Academy at Columbia has a different mission, is more academic, while the NYU one is more for general public, to do events for the general public. So these are I will say that there is one big difference at this one, the two missions. So on that one, that is the place where you saw me being Farfariello. We shot there. And actually, I have to thank John Maggio, because that was part of the Italian American, the big documentary.
Yeah.
I didn't make the final cut. I was the final piece that he had to abandon because of timing, but he was so generous to give me everything that we shot together. So there are two different missions, and the Italian Academy is very academic. They do some exhibitions, concerts, but everything else they don't do it. While we do any kind of, I mean, NYU does, the Casa Italiana at NYU does any kind of programs, from exhibitions, lectures, theater, cinema, books, music, you name it.
Everything.
Food, you name it.
That's great. That's great.
And we cannot wait to open again because we are still closed as of now.
Oh, well, I hope you guys open very soon. Tara and another attendee both asked, do you have any future Italian American projects in mind, or another Italian American documentary in mind?
We, before the pandemic, we were in the process of doing something that is Italian, because it was a documentary on the worth of women on Moderata Fonte, a writer from 1500 that wrote The Worth of Women, which is a wonderful book that we made into a show. But I would love, this is my first documentary, and just think a moment that a theater person doing a documentary, a movie, not knowing anything about movies. My only thing is that I love documentaries, so I watch documentaries all the time. Anyway, so really my crew was fantastic. But I would really like to go on, because we couldn't say so many things that we wanted to say. We couldn't talk about so many actors, directors, theaters. There is so much to tell. And we can do a documentary on each of these characters that we mentioned. There is so much more. And I will do it to leave it to the future generations, really, to tell them this is what it was more than a century ago. Yeah. And next year is the bicentennial of the birth of Adelaide Ristori, who at the beginning of 1800 toured the entire world, bringing Italian theater to Australia, the Americas, Europe, and also help with the Risorgimento, with the revolutionary movement. It is also interesting. And because it's something we are doing now, traveling, and now it's so easy. And think that they were doing it, and they were, what was the meaning of coming here, and what was it to come to New York and perform? It's incredible. Yeah.
Well, Laura, you can always apply for another Russo Brothers grant next year if you want. So the opportunity is there, just in case. So Bob says your film was touching, captures a long gone era. Besides theater, was there any Italian American films of that period?
Yeah, there are. Antonio Maiori played in some. Guglielmo Ricciardi became big in Hollywood. There are some, but I think that there are some. Farfariello has one. There is a little one that is called The Actor, that you can find it online. And I think you can still find it online. There are some things here and there. There's not much, because, but there is something. There are some recordings. That, yes. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. Good. Victoria asked, is there any possibility or interest in the revival of the traditional Commedia dell'arte in NYC? What about using the characters of Commedia dell'arte in contemporary stories dealing with contemporary issues?
Actually, we are thinking about it. Some of the actors that you saw in the documentary are experts on Commedia dell'arte. They're fantastic. And we are really thinking about doing something with the characters of Commedia dell'arte, but something that is of today. Yeah. Like, Pulcinella, there is a Pulcinella New York or Pulcinella La Sedia Elettrica. Now, without Sedia Elettrica, we don't want to put the electric chair in our story.
No.
No. But yeah, we are thinking about it, and we are thinking about it because we saw what they did at the time.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's great. That's good to know. We have a comment from Lisa Peters Russ. No question, just congratulations from Nanny, Olga, and family. Thank you for asking Olga to participate in this wonderful documentary, making her 99th year, soon to be 100, a very special one. Wow.
So Olga is the granddaughter of Antonio Maiori. She's in the documentary.
Yes.
She's the one telling the story. And tonight she went to Lisa's with her granddaughter house to her mom. She left the house just to watch this documentary. And yeah, and it was amazing to meet her. She has so many documents. She has this handkerchief that her mother was using in butterflies. They have this wonderful script, and Lisa, I'm going to get those scripts in notebook like this, and they're all written by hand in Italian. And see, I want to save all of this. I want to scan it and put it on a computer and maybe type it and maybe translate it.
Yeah. Wow.
Because it's to me is a treasure.
Of course. Of course. Wow, that's amazing. Well, and bon cumpleaños to Olga, right?
Yes,
So
bon
to be
cumpleaños.
100 years old. God bless. That's beautiful. We have another comment. Various theater companies hold playwriting competitions and host open submission periods for playwrights to submit work for a table reading or production. Does Kairos have a submission program for new plays with Italian themes written in English?
We do have every year a 10-minute play competition, which right now we're about to, basically we have a theme every year, and we collect the 10-minute plays, and then we choose between 10 and 12, and then we do a reading in person, and the audience vote for the 3 best, and then we do a production of these 3 best. Everything has been postponed to 2022. We are always interested in reading something, because you never know what we can get. But also we are trying, again, with Casa Italiana, the NYU, we are really trying to create a program, something for Italian American playwrights, directors, actors, really to tell the Italian American stories more and more and more. Interesting enough, a lot of Italian American stories have been written, I'm saying successful stories, on Broadway or off Broadway, have been written by non-Italian American playwrights.
Interesting. Well, it's time to take them back. Okay, so Rosanna Staffa says, congratulations on this beautiful and touching work. I can't wait to see your next project. As an Italian writer living in America and writing in English, the story was truly inspiring. Grazie mille.
Grazie. I can, to me, it's like, I am going to float tonight. I'm already so happy since forever, since I did it. Yeah.
Well, that's wonderful, and thank you. We have another comment, Laura, from an anonymous attendee saying, when you mentioned Lorenzo da Ponte, I was wondering why you did not mention his previous work with Mozart on The Marriage of Figaro, Don Giovanni, and Così fan tutte.
We said Mozart librettist, and then we didn't have time.
Yeah.
There is another, for instance, there is a book that I suggest to everyone, if you have time to read this, is The Diaries of Lorenzo da Ponte. So they're so interesting. They're so funny, because it's about being, he feels like he's the Don Giovanni. He's like, and the story of his life is so interesting, and and the fact that he was losing money, and so going from country to country because he was losing money and was hoping to get a new life somewhere else. And then he came here and he taught at Columbia University, and the students were paying him. He wasn't not paid by the university, but the students. And then he started the theater, and he was the one bringing Rossini to the stage. So
Wow.
yeah, we had so much more material, and we couldn't. Yeah, we just couldn't. But my hope is to put everything in the website slowly, very slowly.
Yes, absolutely. Benissimo. Allora, Nancy Indelicato has a comment. Laura, bravissima. You do us proud with this dynamic, scholarly, educational, and entertaining film. Thank you for your and everyone's involved contribution to our heritage and culture. Nancy Indelicato, Board of Directors, Italian Heritage and Culture Committee of NY Incorporated. So,
Grazie, Nancy.
yes, and we have another beautiful comment from Gianna Zanini. Grazie mille for bringing the achievements to the forefront and keeping the Italian culture alive.
Thank you, thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes.
It's
So,
an honor, really.
so I'm curious, Laura, in your, in all your research and, delving into all of these stories and materials, was there anything that surprised you or that you did not know about, or that was a completely, new story that you came about?
Oh, most of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I knew about Farfariello. I did the show. I read books and stuff. Ria Rose, I knew about her, but everything else, I just well, Lorenzo Aponte, of course, but everything else, it came out slowly by doing it, and I discovered it by doing it, and so I knew about the Yiddish theater. There is the Yiddish Theater Hall of Fame here in New York. That is also, there is a big. If you go to the website of the Museum of the City of New York, there is a part of the archive dedicated to Yiddish theater, so you can really read a lot. Everything else I didn't know. I learn about it. Yeah, and the more I go, the more I learn. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
In fact, there was a comment from someone, an anonymous attendee, saying, "Great film, beautifully done." I had not known of the cooperation between Yiddish and Italian theaters. Yeah, I didn't obviously know that either myself. So it's
basically what I understood is they rented out they paid for the theater together, and they were using the same set. But one night there was Shakespeare, that tragedy of Shakespeare in Italian, and the next night the same tragedy of Shakespeare in Yiddish, and using the same set. So they were really sharing the expenses.
Wow. Well, that's good. That's great.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Working together.
Yeah.
Laura, you do have a website, right? Your
yes.
Kairos Theater has a website.
Yes, it's www.kitheater with the ER at the end.com.
kitheater.com.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, great. Well, we don't have any more questions. And I think we had a great discussion, and this was so informative. And thank you, Laura, for creating this film, for not only us, but for the future generations, because that's the whole point of our film forum, is to create it for the future generations. So we don't forget to tell those stories, that we don't forget who we are as an Italian American community, all the great Italians who came before us and who created these beautiful works of art in theater. So grazie, Laura.
Grazie a voi. And if someone didn't get the link, we'll talk and we'll see what, maybe we'll do what you did with Emmy, and then so we.
Yes. And in fact, if Laura, if it's okay, I can send the link again to everyone, and including your web address as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So people can visit
and we can keep it open for a little bit longer so everyone can enjoy it.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Laura. And thank you to you, the viewer. Thank you so much for bearing with us through our technical difficulties that we've had, but we really appreciate it. And we thank you so much for joining us. We will be back on Thursday night with the final finalist of the 2020 edition with Who Killa the Chief? By Charles Gino Marsala, which explores the lynchings of the 11 Sicilians in New Orleans at the turn of the century. So I hope you can join us for that. And then next week, we're going to be doing the 2021 film.
And I hope to see you in person. We'll
Yes.
do, to the screenings in person and to the theater.
Yes.
I hope to see you all at the theater,
Absolutely.
go to the theater, and because,
right. Yeah, away from the computer,
important.
we need to be in person. We need to be, relaxing in front of a beautiful theater, watching art play into our eyes, our very eyes, and not on the TV or cell phones. So, yes. Grazie Laura, grazie a tutti. Buona serata. Ciao.
Grazie, ciao.